the Defector story is the one everyone knows. And it was, I think, the only one I really had known because I had been seeing Hellgate mentioned a lot, but I didn't realize that that was another co-op like Defector. So, Hellgate is like Defector, worker owned, but it's people who know New York and how to report local in New York extremely well. Really talented, smart people, and they're doing great work and they're thriving. And yeah, I'd seen their stories on their coverage of Eric Adams. They've just broken so many stories. And I didn't even know that they were what their situation was because, yeah, with Defector, it's like the story first, probably. I can't speak for everybody, but you probably know the story first, and then it's kind of interwound with its very being. Whereas with Hellgate, I had just seen the work and then later on found out the story. I had seen 404 media happen, and I had been thinking, this is a trend. And I was not alone in that. There were other articles written. In researching it and talking with a lot of people, it presented these worker-owned organizations as the alternative to what I've been seeing as the premier alternative for working at a digital media company or a regular or, legacy media company, which is the Substack route. There are too many great writers, too many essential voices who are popular enough to obviously want to go where the financial, with the incentive and the stability, mainly incentive of starting a newsletter, that I'm just like, you guys should get together and invent the magazine. And that's exactly what Defector, Hellgate, Aftermath, 404, that's what they are. It's people who could probably, or definitely in a lot of cases, have a newsletter, but instead of that, they're working together to build something, and it's fucking awesome. And I think that has to be the future, because once the old ad model became no more, nothing has emerged to take its place. And your options now basically are either join or start a worker-owned publication, or you better be popular enough to have your own newsletter. But I don't know. I seldom see newsletter pieces go viral. I'm sure there are plenty of examples of it that I can't. But it just seems like it's harder to have that feeling of what we're all reading today when it's just what somebody's newsletter put out.
Yeah, the newsletter proliferation reminds me a lot of like the streaming services at this point, where we all wanted that unbundling and thought we would, support all these channels individually. And we wanted to do the same with writers, but now there's like so many of them, we're realizing, the bill and the attention has kind of gotten out of hand. And it's almost like you want a rebundling at this point. And I think these are kind of like that a little bit.
No, it's exactly like that. It's, I couldn't wait to cut the cord on cable. And now I wish you could just do cable a la carte. I wish we had you get to pick your 20 channels. I wouldn't need more than 10, or probably even less, whatever. I would like a bundling of some kind, but the everybody needing to have one has been an experiment that has netted some interesting results, but it's been, I think, disastrous overall to culture. And I hope there is a trend in a different direction soon.
I hope you're correct. One of the things you pointed out in here that's a really big benefit to these shops is the freedom to experiment, which I think is valuable. But beyond that, not just like trying different content types, but being able to have the freedom to speak truth to power in those things, because as these media companies were getting bigger and bigger, they were almost, I don't know, like they had shackles hovering over the top of them about certain topics they couldn't talk about, or company lines they had to hold. Can you talk a little bit about that and like what you saw when you were talking to these people about like the content they can actually deliver now that they couldn't deliver before?
Well, yeah, everybody's beholden to somebody. David Roth, he had some great things to say about it, but he recounted his experience at Vice, where he was urged away from covering certain things, and that's direct interference. And then sometimes I think it's indirect, where it's just you'll pitch something, and people are like, "Oh, we can." One of our sponsors, I've experienced forms of this before where it was just you don't want to rock the boat, and I don't think that's a concern. I think there is more of an emphasis on God, I don't know. It just sounds corny to say it, but I was going to say an emphasis on integrity. But yeah, it sounds corny to say it, but I think it's true. I think they're less beholden, even if they do have advertising, and I think that kind of gives them the freedom to be more fearless about who they're going to piss off. If there's going to be retaliation, it'll be open retaliation. It won't be the kind of retaliation of like your sponsorship is gone and now we can't afford to exist. They don't have the threat. There's no existential threat. It might be they make a powerful enemy who starts bad-mouthing them in other publications, or a legal enemy, facing the Peter Thiel of it all. But it won't be, I don't think, a kind of thing where you're not, someone can't just on a whim decide that like you're too much of a risk and pull the plug. And I think, that affords freedom that a lot of legacy publications don't have.
I think we both really like this model. What do you think their biggest risk or downside is? Like, what are the things they need to make sure they avoid? Is it just that kind of one-off mistake like the Peter Thiel thing, or what do they need to watch out for?
I think they do face the same attention economy challenges as traditional media. There's churn. There's always a point when you get your subscription notification, and depending on how much spending you just did, you can decide, I don't need Hellgate in my life right now. If there's a big story, it'll come to my attention. I don't need to support them this month. I'll support them again when I have a chance, or when my pockets are doing better. So they face that struggle the same as anyone else. And hopefully that just inspires people to keep up a standard of quality, not rest on their laurels, and not assume that because they have you forever automatically. And I guess it could be harder to hold on to that when you are the adults in the room that you are occupying. But I think the people who are proving that this model can work, they're going about it in such a professional way that seems so far that they're not letting themselves slip. And whether it's a mimicable model on a smaller scale will remain to be seen. But yeah, so far it seems like they are aware of the possibility of losing people and doing what they can to combat it by evolving and continuing a standard of quality.
Yeah, I hope it works. Regardless of how it actually turns out, I think they're setting a very admirable example for people who might be aspiring to find another lane